Good morning. Good morning. Have you ever heard the term being comfortable with being uncomfortable? I think so often we're looking to try to take action consistently, but something gets in the way. This happens, that happens. Our good habits turn into bad habits. But how do we get on track? How do we make sure that we're very consistent with this whole growth thing? Being comfortable with the uncomfortable. We're going to answer just that. Make sure to stick with us because we're going to be nailing a coaching exercise to help you with practical steps in order to achieve this and become the full version of yourself. Cheers, friends. Let's get into the show. Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk Terra Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercise to help make you the absolute best version of yourself, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. Good morning. So there's this idea from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the author of the book Flow. It's the Ultimate Guide to Happiness. Amazing, phenomenal book. I'll show his book off here in a little bit. But he has a graph in here that I believe is so perfect for helping us take action. And I don't know about you, but I'll have the weekend going on, and then we'll have to do a few additional things. Things will be popping up that I wasn't expecting. And then my good habits end up turning into bad habits. The things I wanted to do, I keep pushing off. And the farther I push them off, the more uncomfortable and anxious I feel. I feel that there's this opportunity for humans to be excited, for humans to enjoy life more. And I believe it exists in the state of flow. So let's go ahead and draw our chart. So this is the flow channel, the channel that's going to be guiding us through life. So let's go ahead and we're going to call this flow. And there's two sides to this. There's two sides to this within the book. And he talks about, we have our challenge. So how hard something is to our degree. So if you haven't done something before and you're not very good at it, chances are it's going to be really overwhelming. So on the top side of it, we have anxiety. This is in the top half. And then on the bottom half, we have, underneath flow, boredom. Let's go ahead and keep putting the puzzle pieces together so this makes more sense. So on the bottom of this axis, we have skill. So this is how good you are at anything. Maybe think of something that you're really skilled at. And if you are really skilled at something and you do it all the time and it's not challenging to you, then you're going to probably get pretty bored. I can think of some old jobs. When I was a garbage man, it was really routine. It was the same route every day. It was doing the same thing. It was really monotonous. And the monotony turned into boredom for me. And that really started to cause a lot of weight. I was a lot of just difficult times for me. It made it really hard to enjoy. So it's hard to enjoy when we're in the state of boredom. We want something to do. And this is when I'm bored, this is when I usually eat. I think this is really common. People eat, they smoke, they drink, they go to a lot of bad habits to avoid this feeling of boredom. I mean, with smartphones nowadays, we just latch onto things. As soon as someone feels even a little bit of boredom, we're so quick to jump away from it. And then on the other side of the spectrum, say if you're not very skilled and the challenge is very high, this is how anxiety is going to come into play. I feel overwhelmed. This is too hard. I know as a business owner, there's a lot of things, whether I'm shifting domains over or I'm writing new scripts or trying to figure out, I'm building this app and like who to talk to and how to code. It's so much I don't know about it. It's really been riling me up lately and making me feel really anxious. So how do we overcome this? How do we push ourselves but not freak out? And how do we stay consistent without getting bored? And I believe the answer is in this state of flow. So we're trying to be in this state of flow. Thanks to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, if I could ever say his name, but that flow state that we're really trying to pull towards. And we want to be able to answer this question of like being comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? So if we could take this through, let's go ahead before we get in the exercise. Let's kind of keep moving in. Let's check in with ourselves. We had this in the introduction. I think before we move forward with anything, I like this little 3-question framework. I like to ask myself this before I dive into something. One, do you really want it? So say if you want to be a writer, you want to start a business, you want to start losing weight or something like that, really ask yourself, do you genuinely want this? If it's yes, okay, sweet. We can move on to the next one. Can you defend it? If you do this, will you regret it? Yes or no? One of the beautiful things is people rarely regret the things that they do, but always regret the things that they don't. Little twist for the human mind. And then lastly, can you do it with love? If you can do it with love and you can do it with passion, I can tell you, you're probably going to do really well with it. And you're probably going to be pretty consistent with it. We use this check-in framework. So we've created our flow chart for trying to take action. And we've kind of figured out, we've checked in with ourselves. Now it's time to give ourselves permission to let go. So we want to ask ourselves with what type of tasks and what type of activities can we do that can keep us within this boundary, this state of flow? Because I think we're going to lock into the present moment. We're probably going to do a little more. So this moves us on to the actual exercise of the morning show. Good morning this morning. I want you to make a list. So we have our challenge and we have our skill. Within that, we have anxiety and boredom. And then the sweet spot in the center is flow. So I want you to think of on both, go ahead and have 2 subheadings for this. You have mental and then you have physical. Mental and physical. And I want you to think of these activities that are going to make us take action and get us out of our comfort zone. So becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. So first off, what are some mental things that we can do? So for me, I'm doing a group meeting tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, I'm doing a group meeting. I'm going to have a chance to speak. I'm meeting with a group of people. That mentally is a challenge for me, meeting with a group. So group meeting, socializing with people, MTG, that's short for meeting, whatever. Okay, group meeting. So that's the first one I'm going to do to challenge myself. But it's not so scary, but where does that activity lay on this chart? So it's a challenge for me, but I've already written out the script that I need, and it's going to be pretty engaging. So I think it'll land in this state of flow because it's not too much. I'm not saying I'm going to do 100 of them. I know in the past, I used to be so quick to jump to and be like, all right, I need to do 100 of this, or else it's a total failure for the day. I need to do this, or else it's a total failure. We just don't want to do too much too quickly. So the first one for the mental, we want to be able to do the group meeting. And then under the second one, I want to be able to send out 25 messages, 25 DMs. So if you know anyone who needs coaching to help really hold them accountable to improving their health, wealth, and relationships, I'm the life coach for them. And I need to get out and tell people about this. I don't want to do too much, which would be too much of a challenge and cause me a lot of anxiety and overwhelm, but I don't want to do too little and then cause me to be bored and not excited about it. So again, I want to be in the state of flow. And for me, that number is right around 25. So these are the mental ways that I'm going to push myself and get out of my comfort zone. Go ahead and try and write out what, maybe you want to do some reading. Maybe you want to do some writing. Maybe you want to do some speaking. Go ahead and write out the activities that you want to do that will get you out of your mental comfort zone. Now we have physical. So we did the mental side. Now on the physical side, continue to really rely off of this chart. Coming back to this and saying, where does this flow for me? Where do I start? Because it's better to start small. I'd rather be a little more on the boredom side and make sure I'm really doing it than being on the anxiety side. I feel a lot of anxiety naturally just through the days and chaos of the day. So I'd rather be a little more on the boredom side and make sure I'm really giving myself evidence that I can consistently do it before I really jack it up. So I'd rather be a little hovering towards boredom and make sure I'm staying consistent and on the upward trend than getting too far on the anxiety side. Because personally for me, when I feel way too anxious or overwhelmed, that's when I tend to shut down. That's for me though, and everyone's a different individual. Sometimes people thrive really well under massive amounts of pressure. Sometimes people do better when they can just take it slow, and it's a little boring, but you can really think about it. But that's up to you. And that's why having a coach and going through this stuff is so important, because everyone's different. All right. So for me, I'd rather hover a little more towards the boredom and consistent than anxiety. So how do I relate that to some physical activities? Well, the first one is my rehab workouts. So I have rehab. I had some tendons and some tears and some stuff in my right shoulder and in my upper trapezius and stuff. So that sucked, but still working on it. The workouts suck and they're uncomfortable, but I'm making a lot of progress, and that is pushing me out of my physical comfort zone. Another example would be fasting. If you guys refer to the last morning show episode, the one we did yesterday, I did a 36-hour fast with my girlfriend recently, and that got me really uncomfortable. It killed a bunch of bad shit, got it out of my body, rejuvenated myself. But that was really uncomfortable for me. But fasting for me on that 36-hour, I've done 24 hours before several times, and 36 hours was a little more of a challenge, but it was still within my wheelhouse of skill. So I was still feeling in the state of flow. I was towards the end of it feeling a little up here on the upper echelon of a little bit of anxiety, but not too much to where I would shut down. And that's where it's really hard for us to guide, because we want to push ourselves, but not push ourselves too hard. So what are the activities that you can do? What are the activities both mentally and physically that you can do? Maybe you want to get some more workouts in. Maybe you want to go to a public gym and work out. I know that's really hard for a lot of people, just being in the public space. But what can you do to get out of your mental or physical comfort zones? I can think of some other examples from the past. Sorry, I didn't bring water this morning. That was a terrible mistake. My throat's really dry. But another example for me mentally was joining an organization with real estate, because I'm by no means a remodeling pro and still trying to learn about, well, coaching and real estate. But for some reason, really, I was uncomfortable with real estate and houses and stuff. I never grew up working on houses. So a lot of that was really new. So joining an organization with people who knew what they were doing really calmed me down and helped me out. But at first, right when I was getting into it, I was really uncomfortable. But when we think back just for a moment on the things that we did that were slightly more challenging than we could do, and just outside of our skill level, we were in that state of flow. You're locked into the present moment. You're diving in. And are those not the best times? Are those when you get lost in the work, whether it's reading or rock climbing or playing music, you're just creating something or you're building something. You can think of anything within design or any activity that you love, maybe like tennis or playing football, but you're in this state of flow. And I believe when we can understand our own personal flow and we understand the activities, both mentally and physically, that will help us push to be better people, we can use this framework. Coming around full circle today. We can use this framework and check in with ourselves, because ultimately we want to give ourselves permission to go for it. Give ourselves permission to go for it. So I ask you this morning, what is one thing you're going to do today that's going to help you get a little bit closer to your goals? That's going to help you get out of your comfort zone just a little bit. What's going to lock you in to the state of flow and make you a better person? Because will you leave the world a better place oh my gosh, will you leave this earth a better place than you found it? It's a great question to ask. Check in with yourself. If you have any questions or you need any help or support, don't hesitate. You can always go over to talktotanner.com. I want to give the class a shout out before we lock out of here today. Okay. All right. So you can always check out, this is the class, this is the dashboard for the coaching program where you work directly with me. It's over 6 weeks and we hold you accountable to becoming the absolute best version of yourself. It's really easy to resume, get in and out of the course. You can always go through. It's embedded into the website, so you can log in and out of it anytime you want. It saves your information as you go. It's really a fun, easy way. And plus, additionally, you get your hardcover textbook. That's really fun for the one-page life plan. Say if you want to work on your phone, we're developing an app for it. And anywhere on the go, you are the best investment you could ever make. So we might as well invest in you over everything else. All right. Thanks, friends. That's all I had for today. I got to bounce. I got a couple meetings. I got to do that meeting I was talking about that's going to make me a little uncomfortable. But what will you make you uncomfortable? Thanks so much for tuning in. And cheers to being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Thanks, friends. Peace.